Welcome back here to Mighty Mac on YouTube. Once again, if you guys enjoy the content, to be sure to subscribe to the channel today, not only so you don't miss any of the upcoming action, including tomorrow's Lucas Oil NHRA Brainerd Nationals, the 70th edition of the U.S. Nationals, and the countdown, so that way you can have a shot at entering the peak giveaway contest that we're going to be starting on Monday, August 26th. So if you don't want to miss any of the information that's going to be coming out, then subscribe today to the channel so you don't miss any of the updates. So now, without further ado, let's get into the video. So that was a very long day. We were originally supposed to start Q4 at around 4 o'clock. Then it started raining and got pushed back to 6. We made it to the end of the Top Fuel Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge, where we then saw Steve Torrence puke gear oil all the way down this lane, from here at the starting line all the way down to the top end. There is a lot of gnats. I am sorry, I'm going to try and make this quick because I do want to go home too. That ended up putting us in a delay for over, I believe, 2 hours. The story was, funny car was right behind them. Austin Prock and Ron Capps were the back of the line for the Too Fast, Too Tasty final. Fox was live, so they moved him to the front to try and make the TV window. Well, Fox went off the air, so they got moved back to the end of the line again. Austin Prock told us about that. You'll hear that in a minute. So it was melee over in the staging lanes. It was melee on the track, as what happened with Steve was the rear end basically fell apart. He's put like gear oil because it's going 280 miles an hour. It went all the way down the racetrack. It seeped into the asphalt, so that's what caused the delay. It basically went across both lanes because he treated both sides. So it was a nightmare scenario for them, and that just caused melee for everybody involved, because what ended up being what would have ended probably at 7, it's now past 9 o'clock, and we just finished, and the zoo is just getting riled up. We have to be back here by 10 a.m. tomorrow. They're starting Sportsman at 8 a.m. because of the delay. Alcohol Funny Car lost one of their sessions because of the delay. So it was just pandemonium on all fronts, but it did allow for another somewhat of a night session that improved the conditions a lot, because going into this, where we had low 70 degrees, we also had high humidity and high elevation, which chokes these engines for the fuel cars and also doesn't make it so easy for the pro stockers, because what we saw in Q3, no one was really able to make any big moves. A lot of drivers in the media center said, oh, the track still read very good. You probably would have saw some people making moves out there, but during Q3 we didn't see any of that. It looked like it was going to be the same for Q4. Well, we got the night session. We saw some big movers, which we'll talk about here in a second, but absolute pandemonium on all fronts. And one thing I do want to address before we get into it, I get a lot of comments from people about that I yap too much. Well, I'm trying to give you guys the information. If you want to see the highlights, we do have that at the end of the video. So please stick around, watch a full video. We do have highlights the NHRA sends us, as well as comments from the drivers from the media press events after the event as well. So if you want to see the highlights, just sit through it all and you'll get to see it here at the end. Without further ado, let's look into your qualifying recap. There's fireworks behind me. In Pro Stock, Jerry Tucker moves up to #1 qualifying spot. His first #1 qualifying of his career. He holds on to #1 spot at 6:12, defeating Eric Enders on miles an hour, who ties him with 6:12 as second. Then you have a lot of elite cars behind him. Fernando Quadra Jr. 6:19, they say in Q3, moved him up to 3rd. Christian Quadra jumped to 4th. Aaron Stanfield up in 5th. It used to be about the top 7 were all elite cars. Dallas Glenn jumped up to 6th in the finals. So did Greg Anderson. Derek Kramer in 8th rounds up the top half of the field. David Quadra falls in 9th with a 6:38. Eric Latino back in 10th. Corey Reed in the Mission Too Fast, Too Tasty finals jumped from about the 15th spot up to 11th with a 6.640. Troy Coughlin Jr. and Jake Coughlin Jr. again in 13th and 14th. Chris McGahey, who didn't run on Friday, moves into the 15th spot with his son Mason McGahey right behind him. Derek Reese got bumped out of the field after the end of qualifying in Q4, was not able to improve his run. He falls to 17th, and the very terrible weekend for Kenny Delco continued. Was not able to really get one good run all weekend long. A 714 finds himself packing up once again and going home early. In the fuel classes, Austin Prock in his Mission Too Fast, Too Tasty final ran an 860, jumped his way up to the top of the charts. At first, I thought the 874 was going to hold with how a lot of people were running because of the oil down. Austin Prock was over in the right lane. He was able to scorch earth down the racetrack with an 860. Right before him was Bob Tasca, who ran an 868. He has to fall and settle for second. Blake Alexander Alexander rounds out third with 874 from Friday. Ron Capps, who lost Austin Prock in that final mission Too Fast, Too Tasty, jumps up from the bottom half of the field up to fourth. Alexis DeJoria as well in fifth. Jack Beckman also moves up to sixth. Cruz Pedregon settles for seventh, and Paul Lee rounds out the top half. J.R. Todd again settles into the mid-pack down there in the 9th position. Chad Green 10th. Bobby Bodie 11th. Daniel Wilkerson down there in the 12th. Matt Hagan with a very poor running down there in the 13th position with a 9.97. He's going to find himself in a very tough matchup. I believe he's going to be facing, if I have to guess, Alexis DeJoria or Jack Beckman. So that's going to be a very interesting pairing. Dave Richards in 14th. Jack White 15th. Jim Campbell in the 08 Impala once again is able to sneak into the field with a 4.44. He rounds out 16th. Buddy Hall, who was not able to make one clean run down the racetrack all night long, he is the one car that has to go home. In top fuel, Steve Torrence holds on to his Friday night qualifying run with a 6.888. He keeps the top spot. Tony Stewart second. Brittany Ford has moved up to third today. Doug Coletta back in fourth. Sean Langdon fifth. Jasmine Salinas holds on to sixth. Billy Torrance in seventh. Justin Ashley settles for the 8th spot. Josh Hart in the 9th position. Sean Reed 10th. Antron Brown 11th. Clay Milliken in 12th. And then Tony Schumacher and Ida Zetterstrom rounds out the final 2 spots. Like I said at the beginning, we do have highlights sent to us from the NHRA, as well as some comments from the drivers from the post-race media availability. Here's what they had to say, and then we'll look forward to Sunday.
Quadra, Tucker. 990, 160 foot for Fernando Jr. Will we have 3 quadras at the top? Jerry Don Tucker says no. 661-2, Jerry Don Tucker, your new number 1 qualifier. 207.
And they thunder off the starting line. A great matchup, but look at Austin Prock. 386-0, 334. They win the mission challenge. They grab the number 1 qualifying spot, and we should not have expected a dang thing less.
.368, 335. Steve Torrence goes 3.688 and goes to the number 1 on speed.
The HendrickCars.com Chevrolet as it darkens here in Brainerd. They snap off into the night. They lead within 5 thousandths of each other. Corey Reed is trying to stop the winningest Pro Stock driver ever, but it's not going to happen today. And not only that, Greg Anderson will make a great run. A 6.61.8, his best of the weekend, to place him number 3 in the order and get the mission win. A 6.64 for Corey.
Angel Sampé, the brand ambassador for Mission Foods, puts a medallion around Greg Anderson's neck for the 3rd time this season. Greg Anderson is your Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty champion in Pro Stock. And Greg, you had to take out one of your new teammates and do so. A guy who's been mowing the tree down. Were you nervous at all running the guy with all that facial hair?
Yeah, I'm nervous. The kid's going to be good, man. Everybody can see it. The world can see it. It's his 3rd race. He's making final rounds like right and left. He cuts lights like he's 13. I mean, my God. And I had to find a way. I had to find a way to beat the kid. I'm not ready for him yet to take the throne. So he's going to be tough for a long time to come. But today, thank God, was my day. Mission folks, thank you so much. Too Fast, Too Tasty. We're all eating tacos tonight, baby. Yes.
And they thunder off the starting line. A great matchup, but look at Austin Prock. 386-0, 334. They win the mission challenge. They grab the number 1 qualifying spot, and we should not have expected a dang thing less.
It almost feels like Groundhog Day, like we just did this. Angel Sampé putting the medallion around Austin Prock's neck, because this is his 6th in a row wins in terms of the Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge. 7 on the season. Austin, those numbers are pretty good. You're getting pretty good at this funny car thing.
Yeah, no, it's been an outstanding year. It's just unbelievable. I can't even process what's been going on, but I have plenty to learn still. I'm learning every time I get in this car, and I did half my job right there. Really good there. I kept it in the groove really nice, but I missed the tree. Bad glare, but no excuses. But my dad and brother and this whole Prock Rocket team, Cornwell Tools, they bailed me out, and we got another mission win and more points to go into this countdown.
Antron Briggs starting line advantage, and Steve has a mechanical failure. Antron Brown at 384.2 at 314 miles an hour wins the race. And there you have it, Tony. It's the old adage goes, to win, you have to finish, and that's exactly what Antron did.
Angel Sampé, the brand ambassador for Mission Foods, puts a medallion around Antron Brown's neck for the second time this season. Antron, you had a good race against Steve Torrence. You're great on the tree, but something just kind of went away on Steve's car, and yours just not performing like you want, but you survived.
Yeah, I know. The thing about it is we get chips and salsa. Come to the pit. We're here at the zoo, but no, we're having a lot of fun right now, and we had 2 runs that it did to us, so we had to go back and assess it. I know Brian, Mark, and Brad and all our Macro tools, Lucas Oil, Hankstafers, FVP boys, they want some more, so we got to look at it. It dropped the hole again like around the 330-foot mark, so that's why it's going slow, but we're running those short numbers like everybody else to run the high 60s, low 70s, so we just want to get it together tomorrow. We didn't qualify where we wanted to, but the cool part, this is icing on the cake, and appreciate Mission for putting this on. And Brainerd, we're here at the zoo. This has been a great racetrack for us, so we're going to see what we can do tomorrow, Bruno. We're going to try to tune it up a little bit, get it right and tight, it stays on all 8. We can make it a really, really good race tomorrow.
Talk about this has been a good place for you. It's probably one of the most successful tracks. You've got 6 wins here on Sunday. Last year you won the Mission race, then you went ahead and doubled up and won the real race. Does that get you feeling a little extra special when you go to bed tonight, knowing that you're halfway there?
Absolutely. Thing about it is I always go to bed good on Saturday night because we go out there and party in the zoo a little bit. But we keep it under cover, not too late. Go have some fun with the people in the zoo and all the fans, and get to bed early tonight. And we come out early tomorrow morning. The weather will be right and tight in the morning, first pass at 10:30. And we got to go out there and just let it burn, man. Let them good years stay hooked up and try to turn on wind lights. That's what it's all about, man. And I got a great team to do that with.
So we've seen over the course of this year, you've really blossomed into being one of the top guys in the class throughout the entire season. How much of that whole elite culture, being all hands on deck to go jump in on this car, how has that aided you over the course of the season to bring you up to the status where you find yourself at right now?
The elite team is it's something it's hard to put your finger on because everyone is pulling in the same direction. When you get this many egos and this many different people, it's hard to keep everybody going in the same way. And Eric Anders has been great to me, and Jiggs has been right beside me. And anytime you have that many championships keeping you in line, it's kind of hard to mess up. But no, it's a good team, and my team is good that works on my car, and it's really just up to the driver on my deal.
So initially when you guys went out there for Q4, you guys were running in the absolute heat of the day. When we saw in Q3, nobody's really able to make that move in terms of their ETs. How much did it affect you guys to help you get that run with running in the evening session with how bad the humidity and the elevation was for this track?
The track was actually in pretty good shape when we were going to run, earlier, if we would have ran on time. So, yeah, I think you still would have seen some really stout runs. Maybe you wouldn't have seen quite the success rate, just because the cooler conditions kind of promote more cars going to the finish line. But I still think you could have thrown down earlier. Yeah, it all worked out and ended up with the yellow hat. So.
How much of kind of a wrench did it throw in there with all the delays? Because initially you guys were going to go to the back, then they moved you to the front for TV, then you went all the way to the back again.
More or less it was just aggravating mentally because we couldn't get a solid answer. I sat in the car and they came by the first, right when the oil down, they said 5 minutes, you want to get out? And I'm like, well, why would I get out for 5 minutes? So I sat in there for 10 minutes. Then they came by and were like, well, it's going to be 15 minutes. You want to get out? And I'm like, well, I've already sat in here for 20, so I might as well just hang out another 15. Then he came back 20 minutes later. He was like, well, they're going to move you to the back, but we're getting ready to run. And then they were moving me back to the front, and we were getting ready to run. And then, yeah, I got a little aggravated. But, yeah, it all worked out. Ended up, going to the back, and we put on a great show for the fans. And I guarantee you they saw some awesome header flames.
We've seen since Chicago, you and your team kind of blossom into this championship form elite status car. How exciting is that for you and your guys to see this work that you put in the past 3 years finally pay off, as now you're one step away from going to the countdown, and your next race is a track where you have a shot at triple crowning next week?
It's so much stuff going on at the same time. And the coolest part for us is when you see as a team as a whole, where you see your team, like your crew chiefs, make decisions on the race car, and it responds.
that is the best feeling in the world. That's when you know they have a hammer on it and that everything's working right. And the main thing is to find the problem so you don't go wrong. You know what I mean? Like today, like we dropped 2 holes today. And we dropped the whole round before in this round. That slowed us down when we should have ran probably one of the quickest laps on everybody, both passes. You know what I mean? We didn't even make it to the 3:30. We're running what everybody else is running to the 3:30. So that gives you a smile of hope and saying once we get that right, we'll be right there. And then seeing all the past success that we had, it was so cool in Sonoma, Chicago, and all the last races where you see our guys make a move and the car does exactly what it was supposed to do and runs the number that they predicted. When you get there, that's when you become a deadly force. And for me as a driver, I just gotta be able to show up all the time. You know what I mean? Like I've been on the hustle and bustle. I've been in and out the weather with allergies and different problems like that. And it's been a struggle for me this year because I've been gone so much. So I have to really, in the countdown, really have to really focus and actually get that where I can put that down and I can be more competitive on the racetrack and good health-wise. So I compete with all these drivers out here. Tony Stewart cutting 30 lights, Justin Ashley cutting 30 lights. And that's what it's going to take to win these races. You have to be on point and on time.
You talked about last night how you and your crew were trying to find ways to make horsepower for this track. With today, well, we had the cool weather, you had the humidity in the 75% range, and of course, being on this high elevation, how tough was it today to try and find that sweet spot to make this engine run right?
It seemed probably more difficult than what everybody else really thought, because I think 70 flat was low for that, or 69 was low for that round, which I think the track was way better than that, and we were trying to run quicker than that as well in the final for the Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge. Richard had leaned in right before we started the car and he goes, just remember, even though we are racing, this is qualifying and we don't need to blow our stuff up to go out there. And so with that being said, what that translates into is we're going to go out here and try to really throw down and run hard. And if it smokes tires, don't be doing anything dumb just to get it down there, because what we would win there wouldn't nearly cover what we risked destroying. So we went out there and tried to make the best run we could, and just had a parts failure, smoked the tires a little bit right before that happened. But Antron went out there and did what he needed to do. You know, went 84, safe and slow, and right down through there and got the win light. And so we'll be prepared for tomorrow.
So when you're in situations like that where the conditions say one thing but the track reality says another, how do you kind of tune around that to try and find what it does want compared to just going off what the data says and just going gun-ho down the racetrack?
I only get to drive it, so as far as tuning it, I don't have a clue how to even start this thing. So no, it's definitely, sorry guys, it's definitely that's why they have to work so hard at what they do, is to try to overcome the weather. You come up here and you got some elevation, you got a lot of water in the air, you got to figure out how to burn a lot of nitro and a lot of water and make a lot of power. And so that's what their job is, and they've done well at it, but not everybody got it figured out, and some of us did, but not as good as we wanted to.
So that is going to wrap up our content here from Brainerd International Raceway for our Saturday recap. We're going to be back here. Keep in mind, if you're watching on NHRA TV, the start time has been moved up to about 10 a.m. They're not doing pre-race ceremonies because they're starting alcohol at 8 a.m. So it's going to go straight from sportsman straight into the pro category. So no pre-race whatsoever. It's going to be all hands on deck to try and get this race in. We've had 15 hours of track delay with the oil downs and the rain delays as well. Hopefully that is enough for us after this eventful weekend and we can get this thing done in one go. There's a lot of gnats, so again, if you like the content, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming content. Be sure to follow me on the social media pages below, MightyMac03 on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, as I'm going to be posting updates all race day long, including for the U.S. Nationals. And until Sunday afternoon, God willing, this has been Mighty Mac. I will see you next time. I'm tired. I'm going home. There's a lot of gnats.